Nigeria's maritime sector is a major source of revenue for the country, but that sector isn't one without its myriad of challenges. Just today, the Ministerial Committee on the Modalities for the Establishment of a Nigerian Fleet reported that the country is losing at least $2.2 billion annually to foreign ship owners and seafarers. Well, that's our focus today on Business Nigeria. Welcome. I am Yemisi Lanredu. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, formerly the National Maritime Authority, NMA, is responsible for regulations related to Nigerian shipping, maritime labor and coastal waters. The agency also undertakes inspections and provides search and rescue services. Now, NIMASA is the apex regulatory and promotional maritime agency in Nigeria, and it's committed to the enthronement of global best practices in the provision of maritime services in the country. Now, areas of focus include effective safety administration, as we have it here, maritime labor regulation, maritime pollution prevention and control, search and rescue, cabotage enforcement, shipping development, and ship registration, amongst others. Now, Director General of NIMASA, Dakuku Peter-Side, says the sector will undergo major reforms in the next 1 year to boost its capacity to drive the growth and development of the industry. It stated that the reforms were in line with the change agenda of the present administration committed to the diversification of the economy. Now, there has been negative perception about the agency as regards corruption, inefficiency, and abandonment of its core mandate to that of a maritime administration that is alive to its responsibility, intent of making Nigeria the preferred destination for maritime activities in Africa. And the most recent is that the agency is set to automate its payment system for greater efficiency and eliminate revenue leakages. This is in a bid to create more transparent ways of calculating the 3% levy charged on all inbound and outbound cargoes, and also to eliminate piracy and other criminal activities on the waterways. Now, Nigeria is certainly well known as an import-dependent economy, and as such, the maritime industry is crucial to its sustenance. Now, joining me is the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dakuku Peter-Side. I must thank you so much for coming on Business Zone.
Thank you too.
The maritime sector is one sector very crucial to the Nigerian economy, and I don't envy you sitting on this hot seat at this moment. Now, when you came on board as the DG of NIMASA, you announced a 3-year maritime business growth plan for the development of the industry. Now, can you tell us more about the hope for this, how to achieve what you have set out to do?
Thank you very much. If we talk about the maritime industry, I'm sure we'll talk about the industry all day. What I want to say is that for a fairly long time, we've talked about the potential in the maritime industry. What our task is to move it from potential to a bastion of opportunities. And to do that, we need to develop a clear-cut roadmap with timelines and measurable targets. That is the genesis of the medium-term growth plan for the maritime industry being driven by NIMASA. We also realize that the maritime industry is currently the second biggest foreign income or earner, not just foreign income, but local and foreign. Maritime industry is the biggest revenue, second biggest revenue earner for the country. And yet we're talking about potentials. We don't want to just talk about potentials. We want to talk about the contributions of the maritime industry in employment of our people, in economic growth of our country, in revenue of our country. We want to talk about the contribution of the maritime industry to the entire development agenda of our country. And to do that, we need to anchor it on a plan. Currently, some statistics or data are troubling. We are perhaps the only country in the world, perhaps, the only country in the world that foreign flagged vessels take all our crude to the international market. We don't have a single Nigerian flag vessel that take our crude.
Exactly, and we're told in this report this morning that Nigeria loses $2.2 billion.
Not just losing $2.2
annually.
What are the other related things? What are the employment opportunities? What are the quality of life that will be impacted if our people now are on board these vessels as seamen, as seafarers, as owners of these vessels? The multiplier effect of owning vessels that convey or take our crude and our gas. Aside from that, now if you look at the coastal and inland trade, our ferry services are totally underdeveloped or literally non-existent. What of the other areas of the coastal and inland trade, the cabotage regime? We're just not there. We've made progress from the time before the passage of the Cabotage Act till after 10 years after the passage of Cabotage Act. We made some progress. Before the passage of the Cabotage Act, Nigerians were only 10% involved in the cabotage business, the coastal and inland business. But right now, I can tell you, Nigerians are at least between 75 and 80%. The figures, the data vary from time to time. Between 75 and 80% of the coastal and inland trade is being driven by Nigerians.
Honestly, I don't envy you, and I wonder how you sleep every day. That sector is one sector known to be facing a lot of corruption issues, and we've seen many cases in the court. Now, how do you hope to achieve a corruption-free maritime sector, really?
We've already taken some critical
and how
steps.
to plug these holes, these loopholes that we have there. So much of money is lost in that sector, and it's a major revenue earner for Nigeria. How do you intend to achieve this?
Well, we got on board. We acknowledge the fact that there is a perception of corruption in NIMASA and in the entire maritime industry. It's not just in the Nigerian maritime industry. The perception of corruption is something we're dealing with countrywide. You heard the British Prime Minister said Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. So it's a national problem. I'm happy that the current government at the center is championing a reform and a change agenda for which we have since keyed in. What we're doing in the maritime industry, in the next few days, precisely tomorrow, the Federal Ministry of Transportation will be launching a standard operating procedure. It's part of a reform process in the ports. All the agencies, that's what the Federal Ministry of Transportation is doing. But in NIMASA back home, what are we doing to check corruption? We've told you that we intend to automate all our processes so we reduce human contact in the payments we make to NIMASA.
Okay, talking about that automation now, NIMASA plans to automate about its 3% levy charged on all
Not
inbound.
just 3% levy charge.
Okay, tell us more about this. To what extent do you think this will ensure a transparent system?
Now, you see, one challenge we have, not just in NIMASA, in everywhere that we involve payment, that involves payment, when we human contact is a precursor, it promotes corruption. If you reduce human contact and things are done in an automated manner, then you won't see anybody to interface with and begin to exchange money or begin to exchange this or exchange that. And so I don't know your face, whether it's black or white. You simply go online and do the transactions you should do. So you don't even see me, whether I'm frowning, whether I'm smiling. And so automation is one way we think we can deal with the issue of corruption. Now, the other one, and so when we say automation, not just in payment, in our processes. If you want to register your vessel, 70% of what you do is going to be automated. Now, we're also doing some reorientation with our people. We noticed over time that corruption was not with the people in NIMASA. It was very often external influence and external interference with those who work in NIMASA. And so we're repositioning our people, reforming, reorganizing our people, reorientating our people, making them appreciate that the little things we do in NIMASA affect our global perception, how we are perceived around the world.
All right, reforming that sector. Dr. Dakuku, I must take a break on Business Nigeria. And when we come back, we'll be looking at the 48 hours cargo clearance plan. Is it feasible? That's after the break. Do stay with us. It's Business Nigeria on TVC News Nigeria, and maritime is in focus. The maritime activities in Nigeria is what we've been talking about, and I've been speaking with the DG of NIMASA, Peterside Dakuku Peterside, and one of the roles we earlier mentioned of that sector is the effective safety administration, labor regulation, maritime pollution prevention, search and rescue, cabotage enforcement, amongst others. All right, before I went on that break, we're talking about the 48 hours cargo clearance plan that is on ground, or that you plan to take up. How feasible is it, looking at the honesty of your people?
Very feasible. Now, have you asked yourself, the clearance time or window and the turnaround time in Singapore is 6 hours. Cargo clearance and turnaround time in Shanghai, in China, is 6 hours. If others can do it, why can't we do it? It's no rocket science. We've got technology. We've got the people. What's stopping us? Nothing. Now, Singapore handles bet 1,000 ships a day. Nigeria and all our ports collectively bet between 5,000 and 5,200 ocean-going vessels a year. And so what Singapore bets in 5 days is what we bet in a year. The argument would be that Singapore is more into transshipment. But whether they like it or not, they bet ships, they clear cargo, and within 6 hours, there's a turnaround time. The technology is available. If you notice, the customs in Nigeria has an integrated platform, the Acuda platform. It's proven effective. There are a few quick fixes that I believe that current leadership in custom will fix, and you can have a maximum 48 hours clearance of cargo.
Sincerely, I'm happy.
It's truly feasible.
It's feasible. I'm happy you're talking about other countries like Singapore, and we know that Nigeria is an import-driven economy, and if we have these issues, now paint a picture for me. If you're going to place Nigeria side by side amongst them, side by side other African countries, what is the maritime sector like when you place it with other countries in Africa?
Oh, well, if you're talking about other African countries, there are peculiarities. The port in Cotonou, the port in Lomé, and many of the ports in South Africa. We compare data, we share information. Nigeria is better positioned than the ports in South Africa, better positioned than the ports in Lomé.
Really? Tell us more.
And Cotonou.
Okay.
But unfortunately, they've been able to develop their potentials more than we have done for ourselves. And so it seems that those ports are more attractive than our ports. But lately, you may have noticed that there's been drastic changes in both Nigerian ports and in the maritime sector as a whole. So I want to believe that we might need funds to develop our infrastructure. If we develop our infrastructure, we have the capacity and capability to do better than the other ports.
Okay, at the moment, how much is Nigeria revenue at the moment? How much is it given to the GDP of the economy?
Well, you know that last year, the maritime sector raked in excess of 1.5 trillion naira. Last year.
Last year, what about this year?
And with potential to do more this year.
Okay.
Even with the downturn in the global economy, the price of oil, well, it's beginning to pick up, has crashed. Nigeria is an oil-dependent economy. In addition, we have a new foreign exchange regime which is hampering the importation of goods. There's also a new fiscal regime by virtue of the fact that there's a new government in place and we're literally in an economic transition period. But despite all of those things, our maritime sector has led itself to growth. And so we expect a lot.
We expect more, but that takes me to the issue of security is a growing concern, and the incidences of rising piracy, attacks, and also sea robbery on Nigeria's territorial waters. And of course, the Gulf of Guinea has become worrisome. What is NIMASA doing?
NIMASA is doing a lot, not just NIMASA alone. Because of the concern, other stakeholders are involved. Just yesterday, I attended the commissioning ceremony of Falcon Eye. Falcon Eye is a dedicated satellite surveillance system of our maritime domain, which was instituted by the Chief of Naval Staff with the support and coordination of the National Security Advisor. And so NIMASA has also its own satellite surveillance system with which it puts an eye on our maritime domain. In addition to the satellite surveillance system, we are driving the security agencies-led maritime patrol in the Gulf of Guinea. Again, to tell you there is a regional problem, ECOWAS is driving what is called the ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy, as well as the African Integrated Maritime Strategy. We have key in all of these things. We're playing key role, we play leading role in both the African Maritime Strategy and the ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy. And so we're also involved in regional arrangements to safeguard and secure the Gulf of Guinea because of the kind of things we have noticed that is evolving, the rate of piracy, criminal activities that is evolving. But again, like every other crime on the sea, we've always said that piracy has what is called a trinity of crime. Crime is planned on land and executed on the river. And so the first one is you try to deter them from coming to commit crime on river or stop piracy. Then when it's committed, your response is the second part of the trinity. And the third part is after it's been committed, what do you do to punish those who are involved and to deter others in future? So in the area of how do we prevent them, we're saying that, of course, we're going to show continuous presence, and to that extent, we're entering into an MOU with the Nigerian Navy and the Air Force. With the Air Force, they have, of course, the maritime patrol aircraft.
But so far, are you satisfied with their efforts, really?
No, but we're working. It's a work in progress. We're not where we ought to be yet. We're not where we want to be yet, but it's a work in progress. I can tell you a lot is going on. Now, I've discussed about the Navy having a Falcon Eye Command, putting an eye on territorial waters. So wherever you are within our exclusive economic zone, we're likely to see what is going on there. What we're doing, again, is to develop our response capability, working with our partners, Nigerian Navy and other security agencies. So when you do piracy, when you do any of those things, we're able to respond within a short period. Response has been part of the challenge for some time, because we put an eye on what's going on. We know what's going on. We have an idea of what's going on. Then the third aspect is what NIMASA is championing. When crime is committed on the sea, what happens thereafter? How do we intercept the people? How do we ensure that they face the law? And to that extent, we're trying to put a framework in place, the anti-piracy bill, because we've noticed a challenge. Very often when people plan crime, we might notice it, sometimes they might escape. But even when they're arrested, they're handed over to police, prosecution becomes a challenge. So we're dealing with that by fashioning out, getting the National Assembly to pass an anti-piracy bill. When we do, we think that we're able to reasonably contain the pirate activities going on in the waterways. And I can tell you now, Nigeria will reasonably be safe, and everybody can do shipping. We'll make more money and more money for our people. We'll get more of our people employed.
All right, NIMASA championing so much there. But on a lighter note now, the Maritime Cup competition is one competition, I would say, and we saw that the Customs beat NAGAF, one of your agencies, 9-6. It was a tension-soaked competition. How do you feel?
Oh, well, I feel good, but the only regret is that NIMASA didn't have opportunity of participating because there was a transition in leadership at the time the games were being planned. And so you could be sure. One thing you're certain is that if NIMASA was in that game, NIMASA would have lifted the trophy.
And finally, politician turned
in leadership. Because of transition in leadership, we lost it. But you can be sure that next year, don't worry, you celebrate NIMASA. I invite you in advance, celebrate NIMASA.
All right, so how do you feel? A politician turned a government worker now. How's it been?
I don't know what,
especially this particular sector, really.
A politician. Mind you, I come with a doctorate degree in management.
Okay.
I come as a professional manager, and so for God's sake, by every definition of technocrat, I'm a technocrat who got involved in politics.
All right, thank you very much, Dakuku Peter Sai, DG NIMASA. I must thank you so much for coming on Business Nigeria.
It's my pleasure, always willing to be on your program.
Well, we hope to have you sometime soon again. Many thanks. In other news now, oil price in the world market stayed mixed on Wednesday. At the London market, oil merchants paid $50 for each barrel of the commodity. The price improved by 35 cents in early bargain. For the OPEC basket, the price steadies at $44 per barrel. Well, with figures of the exchange rate subject to change, that's Business Nigeria. Many thanks for watching. I'm Yemisi Lanrido.